as of our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says only when one is free can one free others, and in yoga it is out of the inner victory that there comes the outer conquest. With always our love and blessings, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 6, The Book of Fate, Canto 2, The Way of Fate and the Problem of Pain, page 447. In the marketplace of matter's capital, amidst the chafferings of the affair called life, he is tied to the stake of a perennial fire. He burns on an unseen original verge that matter may be turned to spirit stuff. He is the victim in his own sacrifice. The immortal, bound to earth's mortality, appearing and perishing on the roads of time, creates God's moment by eternity's beats. He dies that the world may be newborn and live. Even if he escapes the fierce fires, even if the world breaks not in a drowning sea, only by hard sacrifice is high heaven earned. He must face the fight, the pang who would conquer hell. A dark, concealed hostility is lodged in the human depths, in the hidden heart of time, that claims the right to change and mar God's work. A secret enmity ambushes the world's march. It leaves a mark on thought and speech and act. It stamps stain and defect on all things done. Till it is slain, peace is forbidden on earth. There is no visible foe, but the unseen is round us. Forces intangible besiege, touches from alien realms, thoughts not our own overtake us and compel the erring heart. Our lives are caught in an ambiguous net. An adversary force was born of old, invader of the life of mortal man. It hides from him the straight, immortal path. A power came in to wield the eternal light. A power opposed to the eternal will diverts the messages of the infallible word, counters the counters of the cosmic plan. A whisper lures to evil the human heart. It seals up wisdom's eyes, the soul's regard. It is the origin of our suffering here. It binds earth to calamity and pain. This all must conquer who would bring down God's peace. This hidden foe lodged in the human breast, man must overcome or miss his higher fate. This is the inner war without escape. Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo and our Divine Mother. Compilations taken from the book Growing Within. These are about the works of our Lord Sri Aurobindo and our Divine Mother. Topic: difficulties and pitfalls. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo has mentioned these words in the book Letters on Yoga, difficulties of yoga, and says, all who enters the spiritual path, all who enter the spiritual path have to face the difficulties and ordeals of the path, those which rise from their own nature and those which come in from outside. The difficulties in the nature always rise again and again till you overcome them. They must be faced with both strength and patience. All who cleave to the path steadfastly can be sure of their spiritual destiny. If anyone fails to reach it, it can only be for one of the two reasons, either because they leave the path or because for some lure of ambition, vanity, desire, etc., they go astray, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says yoga has always its difficulties, whatever yoga it is. Moreover, it acts in a different way on different seekers. Some have to overcome the difficulties of their nature first before they get any experience to speak of. Others get a splendid beginning and all the difficulties afterwards. Others go on for a long time, having alternate risings to the top of the wave and then a descent into the gulfs, and so on till the difficulty is worked out. Others have a smooth path, which does not mean that they have no difficulties. They have plenty, but they do not care a straw for them because they feel that the divine will help them to the goal or that he is with them even when they do not feel him. Their faith makes them imperturbable, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. In the same book, Letters on Yoga 4, talking about resistance, suffering, and falls, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, I have never said that yoga or this integral yoga is safe and easy path. What I say is that anyone who has the will to go through can go through. For the rest, if you aim high, there is always the danger of a steep fall if you misconduct your aeroplane. But the danger is for those who allow themselves to entertain a double being, aiming high but always indulging their lower outlook and hankerings. What else can you expect when people do that? You must become single-minded, then the difficulties of the mind and vital will be overcome. Otherwise, those who oscillate between the heights and the abysses will always be in danger till they have become single-minded. That applies to the advanced as well as to the beginner. These are the facts of nature. I can't pretend for anybody's comfort that they are otherwise, but there is the fact that nobody need keep himself in this danger. One-mindedness, surrender to the divine, faith, true love for the divine, complete sincerity in the will, spiritual humility, real, not formal. There are so many things that can be a safeguard against any chance of eventual downfall. Slips, stumbles, difficulties, upsettings, everyone has. One cannot be assured against these things. But if one has the safeguard, they are transitory, help the nature to learn and was followed by a better progress, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo says in the book Letters on Yoga 4 and says, the difficulty is that In everyone, there are two people, to say the least. One is, to say the least, one is the outer vital and physical, clinging to the past self and trying to get or retain the consent of the mind and the inner being, and the other, which is the soul asking for a new birth. That which was spoken in you and made the prayer is the psychic being expressing itself through the aid of the mind and the higher vital, and it is this which should always arise in you through prayer and through turning to the Divine Mother and give you the right way and the right impulse. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it is true that if you refuse always the action suggested by the old Adam, it will be a great step forward. The struggle is then transferred to the psychological plane where it will be much easier to fight the matter out. I do not deny that there will be difficulty for some time, but if there is the control of action, the control of thought and feeling is bound to come. If there is yielding, on the contrary, a fresh lease is given to the old step, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Divine Mother says in the book Question and Answers of 1950-51 on 5th of March 1951 and says, you aspire for a change, perhaps for a specific change, but the answer to your aspiration will not come immediately, and in the meantime your nature will resist. Things happen like this at a given moment. The nature seems to have yielded and you think you have got the desired result. Your aspiration diminishes in intensity because you think you have the desired result, but the other fellow, who's your very cunning and waiting cruelly in his corner, the ego, when you are off your guard, he springs up like a jack in the box, and then you must begin all over again. Question, sweet mother, but if one can tear out completely the root of the thing? For this, our Divine Mother says, one must not be sure of that. I have known people who wanted to save the world by reducing it so much that there was no longer a world left. This is the ascetic way. You want to do away with the problem by doing away with the possibility of the problem, but this will never change anything. No, there is a method, a sure one, says our Divine Mother, but your method must be very clear-sighted and you must have a wide awake consciousness of your person and of what goes on there and the way in which things happen. Let us take, for instance, of a person subject to the outbursts of rage and violence. According to one method, he would be told, get as angry as you like, you will suffer the consequence of your anger, and this will cure you. This could be discussed. According to another method, he was told, sit upon your anger and it will disappear. This too could be discussed. In any case, you will have to sit upon it all the time, forever. You should get up for a minute, you will see immediately what happens. Then what is it to be done? Our Divine Mother says, you must become more and more conscious. You must observe how the thing happens, by what road the danger approaches, and stand in the way before it can take hold of you. If you want to cure yourself of a defect or a difficulty, there is but one method: to be perfectly vigilant, to have a very alert and vigilant consciousness. First, you must see very clearly what you want to do. You must not hesitate. Be full of doubt and say, is it good to do this or not? Does this come into the synthesis or should it not come? You will see that if you trust your mind, it will always shuffle back and forth. It vacillates all the time. If you take a decision, says our Divine Mother, it will put you before you all the arguments to show you that your decision is not good. And then you will be tossed between the yes and the no. The black and the white will arrive at nothing. And you will arrive at nothing. Hence, first you must know exactly what you want, not mentally, but through your concentration, through your aspiration, and very conscious will. That is the important point. Afterwards, gradually by observation, by a sustained vigilance, you must realize a sort of method which will be personal to you. It is useless to convince others to adopt the same method as yours, for that won't succeed. Everyone must find his own method. Everyone must have his own method. To the extent you put into practice your own method, it will become clearer, more and more precise. You can correct a certain point, make clear another, and so you can start working. For a while, all will go well. Then one day you will find yourself facing an insurmountable difficulty and tell yourself, I have done all that, here is everything as bad as before. Then, in this case, you must, through a yet more sustained concentration, open an inner door in you, open an inner door in you, and bring into this moment a force which was not there formerly, a state of consciousness which was not there before. And there will be a power. And when your own personal power will be exhausted and no other effective, when the personal power runs out and ordinary people say, that's good, I can no longer do this anything, it is finished. But I tell you that when you find yourself before this wall, it is the beginning of something new. By an obstinate concentration, says our Divine Mother, by an obstinate concentration, you must pass over to the other side of the wall. You must pass over to the other side of the wall, and there you will find a new knowledge, a new force, a new power, a new health, and you will be able to work out a new system, a new method which surely will take you very far, says our Divine Mother. Prayers and Meditations, May 16th, 1914. I was interrupted yesterday just when I was trying to formulate the experience I had, and now everything seems changed. That precise knowledge, that clear sightedness, has given place to a great love for Thee, O Lord, which has seized my whole being from the outer organism to the deepest consciousness. All lies prostrate at Thy feet in an ardent aspiration for a definitive identification with Thee and absorption in Thee. I implored Thee with all the energy I could summon. And once again, just when it seemed to me that my consciousness was going to disappear in time, just when all my being was nothing but a pure crystal reflecting Thy presence, someone came and interrupted my concentration. Such is indeed the symbol of the existence Thou givest me as my share, in which outer usefulness, the work for all, holds a much greater place even than the supreme realization. all the circumstances of my life seem always to tell me on thy behalf. It is not through supreme concentration that the will is realized oneness. It is by spreading out in all. May thy will be done, O Lord. Now I understand clearly that union with Thee is not an aim and to be pursued so far as this present individuality is concerned. It is an accomplished fact since a long time. And that is why Thou seemest to tell me always, do not delight in the ecstatic contemplation of this union. Accomplish the mission I have entrusted to Thee upon earth, and the individual work to be carried on simultaneously with the collective work is to become aware and to take possession of all the activities and parts of the being, the definitive establishment of consciousness in the highest point, making possible both the prescribed action and the constant communion with Thee. The joys of perfect union cannot come until what has to be done is done. First, union must be preached to all, afterwards, work. But for those who have realized the union, every moment of their life must be an tangible expression of Thy will through them.